first pick, as IG has elected to receive the counter pick here. The first pick Scion is actually really clever because one of the best things you can do with counter pick is to counter pick top. And if you just take Scion as AL, you say, okay, cheers, man. You can just counter pick me. Yeah, good luck. Pick whatever you want. Pick Vayne for all I care, man. I'm Scion. There's nothing you can possibly pick that will even make me bat an eye at you. And so I think that's really clever. Perhaps that means IG might want to go for more of a support counter pick so that they're able to maybe find another way to get use out of that last pick advantage. But really, I do like that first pick a lot from AL. That goes to show that maybe without Tabe, they still have some tricks up their sleeve.
Expect a Cassante here for Soboro, either here on the second or third pick. Been one of his best champions all season long. One player of the game on it yesterday, and a pretty good matchup into that Scion. Top laners in general getting a big buff due to some of the changes here in Season 16. Of course, you have the quest, which gets you level 19, level 20. Demolish going to be really strong on Flandre on the Scion as well, combined with some of those crystalline damage boosters that you're going to get on the towers with the extra plates. Good time to be a Scion player, good time to be a top laner, and Flandre is going to be a big beneficiary of that. See Hope blocking in the Aphelios in response to a Yunara from Photic, and Kael's going to lock in a Thresh. Not something we see too often, but certainly can be powerful in this meta.
Yeah, now, I haven't personally seen, and this might just be because North American AD carries aren't quite as good as LPL AD carries, in terms of like literal solo queue AD carries, but I've been hearing that Aphelios is like the most OP AD carry on the patch right now, like by quite a while. But I just haven't personally seen much of it, but I have heard this review pretty much all throughout Twitter, and pretty much everyone has been saying it. And so it does not surprise me, I guess, that they're going to go ahead and snap up the Aphelios. And from historic metas, we have seen that Aphelios' favorite pairings are typically either the Thresh, so that he has that Lantern to give him what he lacks, which is the mobility, or just a complete Enchanter sort of steroid champ, and they decide to opt for the Thresh, which makes actually a lot of sense if you think about it. As Pantheon, this Thresh is going to disrupt you very much, and guess who's playing the Thresh Grapes is being piloted by none other than Kael, and so I would imagine as Jwei here, he's going to be giving you a real hard time in terms of doing what your character wants to do.
Yeah, of course, one of the best supports in the league, perhaps the best support, one of the best supports in the world, going to be on the Thresh alongside Hope's Aphelios. One of those traditional, one of those classic combinations of bot lane pairings that we used to see in the last couple of years. We're in the second ban phase now. Jungle being heavily targeted against Tarzan. No Wukong, no Vi going to be available for the star jungler of AL. Meanwhile, mid lane going to be the target against Rookie, as LeBlanc and Ahri both get taken away.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned the Cassante. He is still open, and you know who else I would not be surprised to see? I'm not too sure of the ins and outs of the matchup, but I feel like Zahen is who I was going to mention. Is pretty good into the tanks. Pretty much just an S-tier champ right now. But there's a lot of champions you can go for here. He is definitely getting cheeky with the hovers. This one would be cool. Let's not count our chickens. Oh, there we go. Low-key, I got it right, man. Hey,
there we go.
Man. I was like, let's not count our chickens before they hatch, and we do get the Zahen. I like the pick a lot. That's going to be able to have sort of, you can just bring the Conqueror or even the Grasp, and with the nature of your passive, you're just going to be able to have these long duration fights where the more drawn out it is, the more advantageous that is for you. So I like the pick, and we'll see if our guy Soboro, who we've been rooting for pretty hard here, is able to have more agency this game.
I was saying, I was thinking at least over these last couple of days, the drafts have been a little bit too much like 2025 over these last few series. Not as much of the Demacia Cup craziness, but now that is delivering here for IG. We both get the Zahen in the top lane for Soboro, and an Anivia for Rookie in the mid lane against Shanks' Rise. Nice counter matchup for him there. And IG, they're cooking something. We'll see if it ends up resulting in a win, but they knew things had to change after that last game.
So I made a bit of a checklist for us after last game, and the first one on the checklist was making sure that IG's bot lane can have more agency, and that should be the case here with the Lulu coming in. You're going to actually have the double range champions this game, which means starting from the first even minute of the game, now that it's Season 16, the game starts the second you leave the fountain. We're finally going to have 2 ranged champions down there who can actually, go tit for tat and actually trade and keep themselves in the game. So they should be able to actually recall on their own terms this time. That would be a good start. And we even got Soboro having a favorable matchup up there in the top lane, because if you remember last game, he actually did get solo killed as he was counterpicked with that Rek'Sai into the Renekton. Now he's the one with the counterpick, so we should have a better situation here, honestly, for all 3 lanes. We got the counterpick for top side, the counterpick for mid lane, and honestly, I'm pretty sure we got the counterpick for bot lane too. So it's looking pretty good across the board in terms of this draft. We're just going to have to see if they're able to pilot these champions well enough.
IG looking to bounce back after what was a very one-sided game 1, and AL looking to complete a sweep in their opening game of 2026. As we get started here, the level 1s have to be quick now that the minions spawn in 55 seconds, and that's why you see 3 men in the bottom lane for AL, 2 in the mid lane for IG, and you see a flash burn from Tarzan on his Xin Zhao, his most played champion of 2025.
Yeah, and things just completely have no time for pauses or breaks in the meta nowadays, and it's actually very interesting. I like this strategy a lot. So if you remember, throughout the past few seasons, we've seen it where teams might just literally send 5 champions bot lane at level 1 just to get a ward in the bush. Now you're not really allowed to do that anymore, because if you do that and you're not able to actually recall and get back to your lane, you're just gonna lose out on minions. But it's really well played. Sion sprints to the bot lane bush, places his trinket, which means that Hope and Kael are going to be able to have access to theirs to make sure that they can have as much vision control over these bushes down here. And it's just going to be an upper hand for AL. We saw Tarzan was forced to burn his flash. I mean, the inting pattern is kind of repeating here a bit so far. So we'll see if... and the last thing I want to touch on, if this is going to matter in the mid jungle, is that the Ryze equipped Ghost Grapes.
Oh, Photic has to flash away, but Kael still lands the death sentence. That gets cleansed away from... We saw initially IG trading pretty well down in there in the bottom lane, but Kael made Photic burn both of his summoner spells very early into this lane.
Not again, man. Not again. This is the exact same spot he recalled last game, Grapes. This is not good. This is some PTSD for Photic down here, man. This is exactly what AL was hoping for. And I was hoping to touch on some of the other parts of the map, but unfortunately, the weak link of Photic is coming to become the story of the game before we can even discuss anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give Photic a little bit of credit there. I think that was just Kael being nasty on that Thresh.
Valid.
Making the flash, forcing Photic to flash away from the Flay, and then immediately landing that death sentence. That was some good stuff right there. On a champion that we don't typically see very often, but every quality support has it up their back pocket. You see Kael having a good start to this game. Once again, it's Photic with his 2nd early reset of the series.
But yeah, as the resident mid laner, what I did want to touch on here is this mid lane, and it looks to me that Shanks is actually in quite the precarious position. Oh, even the Hex Flash Lantern Grapes. This guy min-maxes everything. How is he so good? But yeah, in this mid lane here, Shanks was in a bit of a predicament. He was forced to crash this wave without teleport. Looks like he was able to do so. Tarzan gave him the hover, and he's going to be able to recall without teleport and be just fine, which I actually do like it a lot personally. As a mid laner, I have been skipping teleport in quite a few of my games just to go for a combat spell, or in this case, the utility spell of the Ghost is super effective on the Ryze in this matchup, because obviously Anivia's whole thing is just controlling your position by creating terrain and forcing you to run around the glacial storm and just giving you nowhere to go. But if you just have so much movement speed that you can just do whatever it is you want, that can be a counterplay of its own. So I like the Ghost from Shanks, and he is able to circumvent the laning phase.
Kael misses the death sentence, and now Jwei going to make his way down to the bottom lane to try and put off a little bit of damage back onto anyone's Legend side. They'll be able to do so onto Kael. Does not have that flash and will be taken down. That's first blood for Jwei and IG.
Yeah, Jwei makes his way down into the bot lane, and he does have his top lane camp spawning here, so that's going to mean that Tarzan making a beeline for the Raptors. We see pings going down from both teams here onto the Raptors. That's typically how it is. If you go for ganks like that, as Hope and Kael, obviously it's a bit frustrating, but you understand that the Pantheon is making a bit of a sacrifice to commit to that gank. So as much as it looks like a super favorable play, don't get me wrong, it totally is. but it's not the end of the world for AL.
It's a big save, though, for the bottom lane of IG because we saw how out of hand things got for Photic and Jwei in game number 1. This at least stifles that a little bit. Make sure that things are back into a more even playing field. As I say that, though, a plate picked up for Hope as Jwei was forced to go back to base, picks up that Forbidden Idol. And AL still in a good position on the bottom lane, but as we take a look at the state of the game at 5 minutes, very much even in terms of gold as our mid laners have hit level 6. Get ready for the eventual Dragon or Grubs fight in the next few minutes.
Now, given the new season, I actually want to pay attention to the way that the Rise and the Yunara itemize this game, because they both have new items that are pretty good on their champions. First, we need to watch this Gromp, though. There seems to be a bit of a scuffle.
Yeah, Hook lands onto Jwei, and the Flay catches him despite the flash. Hope flashes over the wall with that red and white gun, and he will be able to survive at least for a little bit, but Wei does a huge amount of blockage with his E, does eventually allow for his support to get taken down, but Hope has already fallen, and the mid laners have now arrived. Wind becomes lightning, does connect, though, onto the Pantheon, but Rookie has come to the party, and Photic's able to get himself a triple kill in that bot lane skirmish. Anyone's Legend going too far underneath the tier 1 tower, and they will get punished for it.
It's 6 minutes into the second game. Photic is already having more kills than he did last game. Thank goodness for all the Photic fans out there. He's finally going to be able to have a chance to see what he really can do here in the LPL, and oh man, I'm just so glad to be watching these players. But just look at the amount of sheer aggression taking place here. They are just fighting for every inch, every tooth and nail out here. And you see that Jwei on the Pantheon even gets interrupted as he goes for the Aegis Assault here. He gets interrupted and knocked up by Tarzan, I believe. It's really unfortunate. Look, and that's the kind of difference that can make quite a bit. But Rookie is able to clutch it up with the Glacial Wall. So.
Photic. Photic.
No.
Oh, we were just praising you, and now he's in a. Oh, wait, he got the kill. Oh my gosh. Somehow out of position. And I think that AL was trying to hand the kill over to Hope, and ended up backfiring onto them. It is now Kael who ends up picking it up instead. Pretty big mistake there from Anyone's Legend, and IG are still very much in this game.
I mean, yeah, as far as deaths go, that's a completely fine death to tank. They're going for the 1-for-1. And if you looked at the player cams, it seemed that Hope was pretty, like a flame had been extinguished as soon as he died. He really seemed to have felt that one. Whereas Photic, he kind of just like cracked his knuckles. He's like, all right, that's all right. He's like, all right, bet, I'll take that.
I mean, he should be dead a million times over here, no?
Yeah, there's no way he kills Hope here, right? It's because Tarzan doesn't even bother to cast a single spell on him.
Tarzan thought that they had it, and Photic is 3-0, now 4-1 at this point. Looks like, though, AL are unrelenting. They're still looking for plays. They're going to try to find something onto Soboro, who has procced the passive and will get the respawn, but it's just going to be avoiding the inevitable for a little bit longer. He's going to dash forward, land a couple of stuns, but still eventually will be taken down by Hope, who finally gets his first kill of the game right as the grub spawn.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting dynamic with the Zahen. You see, he even ulted the wave there to buy as much time as he could while still being able to get the golden XP is it took them that long to kill him. You saw Flandre wanted to recall out, and he realized, wait, maybe we should learn a lesson from what Tarzan did in the bot side. I shouldn't abandon my team. I should make sure we secure the kill. But Zahen just being that much of a health bar to chew through, having to go through it a whole additional time. He just bought so much time and gave Jwei and Photic all the time in the world down here. They even got the dragon, so I don't even think you can fault Soboro for that death. You know, he was completely left on the weak side, and he bought them just ridiculous amounts of time just due to the nature of his champion.
Yeah, and the last for the dragon to get picked up by IG, AL are able to, you know, at least get that kill on the Hope, but they were not able to pick up the grubs. So they lose out on the neutral objective battle. Much better showing for Invictus Gaming. He's so far in this game, although I have to say, Foles, it feels like a little bit self-inflicted on their side. Anyone's Legend feels like they are the one actively making mistakes, and IG are the ones benefiting from it.
Yeah, AL seems to have been shooting them in the foot more than once this game already, and we see a bit of a hook here on Soboro. He cannot revive here, keep that in mind.
Flashes out of the box, who does not get slowed down, but a teleport's coming in from Flandre, and he's just gonna pop the ulti and send himself straight into Soboro's arms. That is gonna be a nice kill. Easy pickings on to the top laner for IG. Bot laners back. They will trade some plates down there for Photic and Jwei, but AL get back on the board, equalize that kill count at 5, and Tarzan is able to get all 3 of these grubs.
Yeah, that can be pretty frustrating as Soboro there. They're just targeting you once again, and that death is nowhere near as worth it. But it is the same story. Photic is able to beam on the spot lane tower down here. You know, the grubs are on AL's side though, so it is more advantageous for AL to be hitting towers than it is for IG. But this tower down here is very low, and Photic already has the Kraken Slayer, so in this 2v2 they should just have complete say in the matter of how things go down there, and that tower should not be too long for this world.
See some more skirmishing up here in the top side. Soboro winning out on these extended trades rather easily, however, might not be able to do so in a 2v1 with Tarzan making his way into the conversation. Knocked back here on to Flandre, but again, remember, that passive for the Zahen only spawns every couple of minutes, and he's not going to have it available this time.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the passive cooldown there on the left side for Zahen. He still had 70 seconds left to resurrect, so wow.
IG gonna try to make a play on the bottom side though. In response, Jwei goes in with the Grand Starfall, but the wave is just gone. Hope gets the kill onto the Pantheon, and that is a sign of over-aggression on IG's side this time around.
Yeah, so they actually recently added new features into the game of certain report categories. There's a new one called Team Sabotage, and I would say as Jwei there, as Pantheon, you're completely welcome to tick the Team Sabotage report box there. I mean, what the heck was that, man? Like, he just completely sabotaged his team.
Things are going so well for Photic down in the bottom lane. Hey, I finally got a lead after I've been getting, you know, kind of just not having good early games these last few games. And then Jwei comes in and you know, gives over a kill. I will say Jwei has been a very important part of what IG have been able to do so far into this game, setting up those 2 plays for Photic down in the bottom lane early, but that was not it this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to take another look at it. I mean, I suppose they thought they had more minions and that by the time Pantheon would arrive, he wouldn't immediately be tanking the tower or something like that, but it just seemed way too overzealous. Like, I couldn't even find a reasonable look there. It just, nothing about that made any sense to me at all.
Unfortunate for Jwei, who has been such an important part of this jungle position for Invictus Gaming. Speaking of jungle, Tarzan now making his way down bot lane, forcing Jwei to pop that wild growth onto Photic, who now has transcended. Redemption going to heal him up as well. It looks like Tarzan not done with this play just yet. He's still looking, still hunting for some kills. Lands a knock up on the Jwei, but does not hit the W, and he'll be able to use that Dark Passage to get back underneath the tier 1.
Yeah, and Tarzan does still have the Crescent Guard. Thresh does still have the box. They are able to play pretty aggressive here. I mean, Photic and Jwei burned all of their cooldowns. Here comes
Kael.
Pantheon, though.
Oh, you can see the value of that Thresh ultimate, though. The box making sure that nobody is able to chase after them without getting significantly slowed down. And so AL going to be all fine and dandy in the bottom lane. Now in the mid lane, they're going to be more than fine. They're going to be extremely excited about this play that they found on to Rookie. Shanks baiting this out perfectly and finding the great situation to allow Tarzan to get that kill. Coming at the cost of this bot lane. First tower of the game picked up for IG, but AL continuing to find plays across the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really bad death to tank there as Rookie. Looks like there's a bunch of on-the-way pings coming down here. No Realm Warp to be seen, though. Perhaps it's just the Dragon. But all that chip damage into the bot lane tower. You wait an extra minute or two. The Crystalline Overgrowth comes into play, and that tower was immediately one-tapped.
Ooh, Kael does not hit the death sentence, and he's going to be in some trouble as Jwei jumps right on top of him. Crescent Guard from Tarzan, though, knocking away a couple of players. Jumps forward, still healing, and flashes away from any threat of Photic, but the Yunara now turns his sights onto the big carries. That is Shanks down. Hope eventually going to finish off the kill onto Photic. And it's a crazy skirmish down on the bottom side. Double kill picked up for the Aphelios, Photic, and Jwei, both taken down in a 2-for-2 overall on the bottom side.
Yeah, and that's very advantageous for IG because Soboro didn't even have to teleport. You know, you would imagine that if 5 players from one team commit and 4 from the other team commit, that it's pretty one-sided for AL in this case. But no, IG was able to have probably a favorable result with less champions committing. Even the Scion ult is somehow clipped into the Anivia wall there. He's smiling about it.
I think it was a turret debris that he hit
Yeah,
there.
I mean, that was not the best Scion ult of all time. But look, they had less champions down here, but they were still able to over-deliver.
Problem with Thresh, you don't hit that death sentence, you are not very strong. And it gets immediately one shot there. The 80 carries, though, really coming to play in this one here, Fulls.
Oh yeah, Photic was beaming, and I actually think that the redemption from Jwei made a huge difference. I'm pretty sure it hit 5 champions there, 3 allies, and 2 enemies. I mean, when you get a really early redemption and just hit as many people as possible with it, that's honestly worth more than probably Soboro's TP would have been. So that was super effective that IG was able to get. Well, that's actually their second Drake. They've got the gold lead as well, and this 0-3-0 Zahen up there was able to make a bit of a comeback. So all across the board, that's exactly what IG needed. And Photic is extremely strong. He's all of a sudden the main character of this game, Grapes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it took him 23 minutes to get his second item last game, probably. Now, already has his second in the Fiend Hunter bolts. It's going to be incredibly valuable once he procs that ultimate. He's going to have buffed up auto attacks already with that Transcendence and then with this new item as well. But now we see IG looking for a play onto Shanks. They're able to burst him down before he can even finish off the cast of the Realm Warp. And so IG starting to build a bit of a lead for themselves here, getting a kill once again onto the Rise, and they're going to be pushing up mid lane as well.
Yeah, and we're just keep seeing the same thing.
Ooh, Photic though, he gets stunned up, slowed it down, hit up by the Moonlight Vigil, and he can have all the damage he wants. It's not going to stop him from getting taken down by the Xin Zhao. Tarzan gets on the board once more, and a big catch onto AL's side will allow them to turn their sights towards the Herald.
Yeah, and alas, before I was able to praise IG and their drafting, I was just going to say that we keep seeing how advantageous their draft is with the Anivia into the Rise, with the Lulu in the bot side being able to give them the bot lane advantage. Unfortunately, he just gets completely one-tapped. Jwei even misses the redemption, and we don't get to see what those Fiend Hunter bolts are capable of. I really think that that item is pretty overtuned, and they're buffing it, so that item is just insanely effective right now on the Yunara. If you're able to just dish out 3 quick autos, that's even going to proc your Q. You're just going to be the one one-shotting, but unfortunately, he was the one who got one shot. So we just need to see a bit better positioning, some slightly better inputs from Photic and Jwei, keeping Photic alive here, and that better be his last death if they want to keep him as the main character, Grapes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We've seen Photic have good team fights so far in this season. He's been able to come to play in the late game. Normally it's been the early game that has been the struggle for this guy, but he was able to get a lot of early kills with the help of Wei and Jwei. Now he's going to have to capitalize. Now he's going to have to pay back what, of course, the rest of his team was able to set up for him. And so far he has gotten caught out a couple times too many. He's allowed for AL to stay in this game. However, it is IG still with that 1,500 gold lead. They have 2 dragons to AL's none. They're still looking much better than they, of course, were in game number 1.
Yeah, the next thing we want to keep our eye on is that Tarzan here does have the Eye of the Herald. He's going to be able to use this to some effective advantage. You either have 2 options typically. You can use the Herald just to charge it immediately into a tower and just get its bang for its buck, and that's its value right there, done, said and done. Or sometimes it's actually pretty wise to save the Eye of the Herald for before a fight, and you can actually use it as a sort of a combat spell. Maybe they can use that on this coming Drake here, but we just want to see how Tarzan makes use of this, because this objective can be super hit or miss. Sometimes the Herald just completely gets your team like 3 towers and just completely wins the game, or sometimes you're able to live on 1 HP and hop into the Herald and drive away, or drive through everyone as well and then get like a Penta or something crazy. So the Herald is a super hit or miss ability right now. It is in Tarzan's inventory, and we're just going to want to see how he makes use of it.
Added value, of course, now with plates being all across the towers, not just in the tier 1s, but still some tier 1s to take down here for Anyone's Legend. They have not destroyed a structure just yet. We see where exactly Tarzan will place this eye. You'd imagine it will come at some point before this 3rd dragon of the game that they desperately want to control over Invictus Gaming, as it would be sole point for their opposition side.
Yeah, and typically the tier 1 mid lane tower is the most important tower to take down in any League of Legends game, especially when there's an Anivia, because I'll tell you, Grapes, if you don't find some way to destroy this tower, whether it's with the Rift Herald or some crazy overcommitment of 5 members to try getting it, Anivia will just press R on every single wave that comes under that tower if Yunara and Lulu doesn't stop it first. And if you can't destroy that tower, you can't really access the entirety of the map. So that could be the primary target here. It looks like they're going to try syncing up this Herald with that Drake, as we were mentioning. It's very important to secure this Drake as AL, not to give over soul point.
There's actually IG with mid control as the objective is about to spawn. That's going to get them the inner positioning around this dragon. Of course, again, soul point for them if they pick it up. There goes the eye, and a teleport sure to come through from Flandre as he is now headed back to base up against the Zehen on the other side for Soboro. Dragon started up, and it should be taken down very quickly by IG. They're looking to burst it down before Tarzan can get into the pit. The wall going to slow him down, and it will be soul point secured for Invictus Gaming. Teleport comes in from Soboro, but he has to flash away as Zehen still is looking for his stacks, but gets hit up by a full decimating smash. Going to try to burst down the Zehen. Wild growth not going to be enough, and Shanks gets the kill, and Tarzan is now on the prowl. Flay lands on the way, and he'll be in a whole lot of trouble, but might be able to burst down Kael first. No! Hope gets the kill. Moonlight Vigil goes wide, and Photic still is untouched and transcended, with a Realm Warp coming in and sending 2 members of AL down and trying to take down Rookie. The hook somehow connects through the entirety of the minion wave, and it'll allow for Hope to get back onto the board, and another kill onto the Anivia. So despite the dragon going into IG's hands, AL get 3 kills for free in the team fight that follows.
And that is just the story of League of Legends. It is a team game, and if one player makes a critical mistake in a big team fight skirmish, it can cost the rest of your team. Soboro's positioning was so unnecessarily aggressive. Look, he TPs in to the middle of their whole team, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he still could have lived, by the way, but I think he's Eing forward or something here after the flash out. And yeah, this E right here is just completely griefing his team. As soon as Soboro dies, your team doesn't really have a front line. You're not able to even expending the wild growth and the redemption. And now all of a sudden, this fight goes from even footing to just the complete back foot for IG. So unfortunately, the rookie there in the top side, who we have so much praise for, he kind of let his team down here, Grapes, and we need to see better performances. Wow.
Oh, Shanks takes down the minion right in front of the Death Sentence, and Kael with 200 HP able to provide a huge impact on that final kill for Rookie's side. AL are now the team that are up 1,500 gold after being down the same amount before that initial fight. And while IG do have the soul point, they are slowly hemorrhaging any lead that they once possessed, and AL is going to be able to pick up a ton of standing gold on the map over these next few minutes.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes to the level of team play that's at play here, where Shanks is able to set up Kael with the alley-oop for the hook. Meanwhile, it seems like IG's synergy just hasn't quite been there. I feel like Photic has actually not been able to have the confidence to click aggressively. It just seems that he's constantly just worried about this Xin Zhao with the Crescent Guard and with his lack of front line, you know, just being dead before the fight even begins. And with Jwei ulting under the enemy tower and just, you know, dying, it's just he needs his team to just step up a little bit more. This one's not really on Photic all that much. We want to see cleaner gameplay. That's just the bottom line. They have 3 dragons, so the best part is, regardless of all these mistakes, of all these errors, they can still win the game, assuming this Baron doesn't go over, of course.
It has been started up, and AL definitely in a position to feel comfortable about being on the aggressive and forcing these team fights. Photic, though, has his 3rd item completed in the Lord Doms. Will be able to burst through some of these frontline players on AL's side if he gets enough time to dish out the DPS. Flandre goes in with that unstoppable onslaught. It cuts off the rest of IG and sets up good positioning in the mid lane right now for AL. Lantern going to be able to take Flandre to safety as the Moonlight Vigil gets thrown out, and the Baron going to once again be focused here by AL in terms of the vision department.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't quite get the chance to touch on it in the draft, but you are really thankful as Hope this game, as Shanks, and even we saw there as Flandre, just to have that Lantern against the Anivia, because what's so obnoxious about the Anivia, she's dropping down that glacial ulti, and then she's putting up the wall as well, so you're just stuck there, you're slowed, you can't go left, you can't go right, you can't go backwards, you just take all this damage in the world, you're just a sitting duck. But Kael is just able to completely circumvent that problem with the use of just one W press. So I really think the Thresh is a super key focal point of this draft here, which actually came in before the Anivia. So they're just really thankful to have this on their team. And looks like they're looking for Zehen here.
One bright side for IG is they will have this dragon that spawns in 40 seconds, but it could be a situation where they're down a man as Soboro gets caught. Tarzan dashing back in with the audacious charge, but Soboro will be able to get back to safety. He has a teleport back available if he wants to rejoin a potential soul fight for IG. But now the question remains, do they want to go for the dragon or maybe a baron or a fight in the mid lane instead? It looks like it's going to be AL to push the initiative with Flandre ulting straight into the entirety of IG. And another disastrous teleport from Soboro. He's going to get taken down once again before he even has the revive. Tarzan with the Crescent Guard on to the bottom lane of IG is going to keep himself alive for an incredibly long time and allow for Shanks to get a double kill. So AL is the one to pull the trigger, and they are rewarded with a 2-for-0 and should be able to get this Baron as well.
And at the end of the day, I just think AL is just a slightly better team, if not more than slightly. They're on the same page. They just play better. Their inputs are better. They just know exactly what page to be on and how to execute, and they are simply just executing at a much higher level than IG is here. You see how aggressive they're playing, even with Shanks realm warping in, ghosting into the entire enemy backline, knowing he has that lantern in tow to get away to safety as well. And they're just playing so much better, and I have a feeling, Grapes, that we're going to even get to see pretty soon here another new item for Shanks here. But before we touch on that, we see, I think Jwei played this pretty well, finding a way out of this fight. But who else but Soboro, unfortunately, making another catastrophic error. It's just been the same story all game. They targeted him in the top side, and it's kind of like he's playing pretty tilted, Grapes. He's just not positioning very well at all game. And, as fed as Photic once was, it just doesn't matter anymore. As I said, it just seems like he's forced to click so defensively, and there's just no way he can DPS everyone. And that is what it is. And I'm excited to see this, though, Grapes. If you take a look here at Shanks' inventory, he does have the item I was touching on, the Actualizer, which is super effective. The more mana you build, the more damage you do once you pop that active. Your cooldowns are pretty much non-existent. We're back to, I don't know if you remember, what was it, like Season 5 Rise or whatever? 5 Rise. You just EQ, and you just one-shot everyone. So Shanks is going to be really OP right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, AL just OP across the board as they have this Baron buff for the next 1 minute and 50 seconds. They're going to be able to take down this Tier 2 tower in the next wave or so. And I think this is an example of AL being the team that has played together longer. They know the ins and outs of each other. Meanwhile, this is Rookie's first game back, second total series for IG with this set of 5 players. And you can definitely see the difference in terms of coordination and communication favoring our team that is stuck together from 2025.
Yeah, we see that the Anivia does have some utility in this draft, being able to block the Scion ulti, but yeah, I just don't think it's enough. I mean, look at all the tools that AL has. As you mentioned, they're just all quite OP across the board, and this siege is just so hard to stifle. There's a whole minute left. We see Panther.
Shanks gonna get targeted here, but has the Seraph shield and gonna be able to get away with the help of that Dark Passage from Kael. The Thresh gonna Hex Flash over the wall, make sure that he's able to protect his AD carry in the meantime. So Shanks going to survive, so is Kael, but Tarzan actually going to get caught out here as he pressed his recall button a little bit too late. He's going to have the Blast Cone to try to escape. He still has his Guardian Angel in his hand as well, but there is not much to fight for regardless. Even if Tarzan does go down, it will be his eventual demise. Now Flandre and the rest of AL have returned. Those Baron recalls are very fast, but it will not be fast enough as a shutdown goes Jwei's way.
Yeah, that is a huge pick there, and I feel like we've all kind of had that happen where everyone's recalling, but you just want to overstay just a little bit for a bit more gold or a bit more whatever it is, and you recall just a tad bit too late. And unfortunately, you notice his entire team is in the fountain, and IG just seems to identify that immediately, and they just spam on the way, ping on top of him, do whatever it is they possibly can to reach him, shut him down, even taking that Jwei out of his inventory now. That's going to be on cooldown for the next 5 minutes, so it's huge here now, meaning that they're going to have a much higher chance of being able to posture for this dragon. And I will say a lot of that is off of the back of Jwei. I really like the Grand Skyfall look that he found there onto Shanks, being able to force Shanks' flash into the Dark Passage. That completely stifled the push. They had a really effective mid-bot push there with the Baron buff. Now the Baron buff's gone. Now Xin Zhao's GA is gone. Now Ryze's flash is gone, and IG has a lot more say in this game now in being able to get this 4th Drake.
Not the most control though, because you
Yeah.
take a look up on the top of your screen, Fulls, and it's still a 4,500 gold lead in favor of anyone's legend. A lot of that in that mid jungle as Tarzan has his 3 items. Shanks now has a Seeker's Arm Guard, so you thought he was safe earlier with the Seraph Shield and with the help of Kael. Going to be even safer now with that extra stasis and of course the ability to do a boatload of damage. 30 minutes into this game, IG have kept this closer than game number 1, but still have a lot of work to be done. Photic and Jwei going to have to come up huge in this fight. They want to try to get this Hex Tech Soul that is spawning in 15 seconds. But right now it's AL controlling the bottom side of River and poking out IG the best they can. When Becomes Lightning lands onto Rookie, but he's able to get shielded up and stay alive for a little bit. The Glacial Storm slowing down AL's assault, but they will still be able to gain control of the middle lane and head back over to the objective.
Yeah, both AD carries do have their 4th item, Infinity Edges, in slot here. The main way they could do this is if Pantheon steals the Drake with his ulti.
Ooh, Kael nearly gets the hook onto Rookie, but he's able to pop the stasis in time. Look at the amount of damage that Hope's able to do from such a long range with the help of that Calibra, and Tarzan is taken to about 40% HP, forced to pop that Crescent Guard early. Flandre now getting targeted here, almost taken it down. But the Moonlight Vigil going to delay any sort of aggressive play from IG. They instead turn their attention to the mid lane tier 2 and will trade it for the 2nd Dragon on AL's side.
Yeah, I mean, this can't go much better as IG here. You're really doing pretty well getting some of the cooldowns out from AL. You know, Xin Zhao's ult, Aphelios' ult, even chunking Sion and Xin pretty low there, but you're only getting a tier 2 mid from that. It's not the best. Unfortunately, as much as you do chunk out AL, you just really can't enter that river unless you get a bit more. It's just so difficult to enter. I was thinking the main hope they could have is if Jwei just perfectly times his ulti so he can come down and 50-50 smite the dragon. It's a bit of a Hail Mary, but I mean, you are on the back foot here. You do want some sort of a miracle play to happen. They played it pretty well, but I don't think you can play it much better than that, and this is the best they're getting, Grape. So I don't really see how they're going to find their way back in.
Yeah, I mean, getting that turret's nice, but it comes at the cost of a dragon. You're not going to be able to trade, you know, those neutral objectives back and forth for very long. You're going to have to eventually win a 5v5 team fight, and IG might have to do that now with the Baron getting started up by anyone's legend. Who knows if they'll be able to withstand a 2nd Baron buff push, and so IG now have to go for the fight. Soboro this time teleporting to a bit of a safer location, but the Baron is already gone and taken down by Tarzan. Death Sentence lands onto Jwei, and he already has the Guardian Angel pop before he can even pop that Aegis of himself. He's going to eventually go forward with the Wild Growth, but still it's Shanks to get the first kill. Photic is transcended, but he has to dash away and still gets knocked up by Flandre with a huge unstoppable onslaught. Soboro dashing into a 1v5. He'll get the revive, but it comes too late, as it will be anyone's legend. Realm warping back into the mid lane and trying to take down Rookie, the last survivor here for IG. Tarzan going to try to chase him down. All they need is the wave to try to secure this game. They'll be able to get that and more as the egg gets procced, and it will be a full ace for AL.
Yeah, AL takes all of IG and just slays them all, puts them into the gray screen. There is just no way you can possibly win that kind of a fight once Jwei just gets death sentence there. Kael smurfing the fight. We one-shot Jwei. There's no front line. There's no hope. You see Flandre making a montage with the Sion ulti there, completely bouncing Photic and Jwei, if I may say. Super well played there from the side of AL, giving IG no hope in this game. And hit the Vlad, not the Nexus, and looks like we're gonna end up having a 2-0 for AL.
New year, same anyone's legend. Your top performing team from the LPL in 2025 coming out in 2026 with a bang. They win this series 2-0 over IG, your Demacia Cup champions, as Invictus Gaming now fall to 0-2 to open up Group Ascend play.
Yeah, that game looked a lot more promising, especially with Photic's early game there. I think he was like 4-0 at one point. He had a pretty big lead. AL was actually making some pretty uncharacteristic mistakes even. They were definitely throwing IG some bones, but they just weren't really able to capitalize on it as the side of IG. I really do think, as unfortunate as I don't much want to say it, Soboro did have quite the stinker this game, just making huge mistakes across the board, just being out of position at all times, TPing into the entire enemy team and dashing in and dying, and just I'm pretty sure he was just a huge liability up there, unfortunately. I mean, Zahen is a new champion. Perhaps he just wasn't fully equipped to play it, something along those lines, because he's my MVP when it comes to IG, even more so than Rookie. And unfortunately, we just didn't get to see that performance that I really wanted from him, that caliber that I expect from him. And AL played like themselves, regardless of the mistakes. They're just better, and they take the series.
Yeah, I know that something we talked about with Soboro coming over from Furex over to IG and seeing what he looked like in the Demacia Cup is that he looks very good on a specific set of champions, right? You think of Cassante, Gragas, Sion, Ornn. Very much not the main character sort of guy. He's going to be the big carry. I think we saw that, wasn't able to do fully the same amount of good work that he has been doing with IG when put in a more carry-oriented position on the Zahen. Definitely struggling against Flandre, who is one of the best weak side top laners in the world throughout history here in lolesports, and showing it once again that he still got it in 26 with the Sion pick. I mean, that was a huge ulti that he had in that last team fight, knocking up both of the main carries and resulting in AL picking up this 2-0 win.
Yeah, and Flandre just being the much more tenured player, much more experience, a much longer career. Soboro has much more time to make up for those mistakes and find himself sort of deeper into the LPL as things go on. It's not going to get much easier for them being in this Ascend group with the other 5 best teams in the league, but I'm sure that he'll have some better performances for us later down the line. But yeah, Flandre, he takes that first pick Sion, and he just runs the show. Really well played across the board. I actually think that he could be worthy of the player of the game that match. I'm not sure who else we would give it to. I mean, Kael did have some pretty big death sentences, and I mean, Shanks was doing pretty all right. But who would you say? I think Flandre deserves it.
Flandre could definitely get it. I think Kael on the Thresh was certainly an exciting one as well. I think this bottom lane for AL is really, really good, and so always want to hype them up. But yeah, I'd say Flandre can get some love here for this Sion performance. It's something that we see quite often from him, popping off on these weak side champions, and definitely a good showing for him there. As for IG though, not the best showing, as they have now lost their first 2 series of the 2026 split number 1. Despite them winning the Demacia Cup, we're seeing some of these big flaws be exposed for them, and that's going to continue to happen as they play against top-level competition. Remember, BLG was not at their full strength. Anyone's Legends was not at their full strength in this last Demacia Cup, so some of the stronger teams in the league going to come in with a little bit more of a vengeance now in Group Ascend than what IG had to face off against in that off-season tournament.
Yeah, and the silver lining here is IG is you're just going to be able to become that much better of a team, being able to play against these higher caliber opponents and really having these tough challenges ahead of yourselves. But yeah, we just want to see them play a bit better where all 5 of them are having a good game. Seems like Photic really underperformed in game 1. Soboro really underperformed in game 2. If we can really have all of these players at their best, I think they can definitely take games off of any team in the league. I mean, their ceilings are just as high, or relatively high enough, and we just got to see them play a little bit better and not make any of these huge mistakes. And again, I do want to touch on the fact that I think Rookie could have done a bit better this game. For example, I remember seeing his first death. He just randomly got caught out by the Ryzen Zinzao. You saw him with his player cam. He just knew he was dead before the egg even popped. He was just completely out of position, and yeah, maybe that's just that time off. Maybe once the season gets deeper, he'll have some more experience. He'll be fresher with the new patch. He'll be more ready. He'll have like that riding a bike mentality of the more you play again, the more ready you are. Those skills are all in there. You just have to unlock them again. So I just want to see this team at their peak performance, and that was not it tonight.
Hey, if Rookie and IG are anything like they were a year ago, is that they are able to perform in the clutch, in the end of the season, during the playoffs, end up going on these runs, right? Got to top 3 in split number